Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The following program is sponsored by Max Out Savings Advisors. The views expressed during the broadcast are solely for entertainment purposes and do not necessarily express the views of KNTH, its management, Max Out Savings Advisors, or its sponsors. Max Out Savings Advisors and members of the Max Out Savings team may or may not hold securities mentioned during the show. Plan for your prosperity. Prepare for your retirement. Safeguard your savings. And nurture your investments. This is the Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka, a presentation of Max Out Savings Advisors. Now, here's your host from Max Out Savings Advisors, Ted Gioka.
Welcome to the Max Out Savings Show. We're a show about savings, investments, and building up wealth. Our motto is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. I'm Ted Gioka. I'm here to help you every weekend understand retirement in the world today. As we said, our motto is to save aggressively, invest conservatively. That means with your 401k plan. That means putting away a minimum of 10% plus a company match. That's about typically 3 to 4%. That's what the numbers say you need to get to retirement. And if you're in your 50s, when you start really making maybe bigger money, you want to put away a little more if you're behind schedule. If you start 50, you have an easy 15 years to build up even more savings. So take advantage of that, build up wealth, take charge of your retirement. Because keep in mind, we say save aggressively, invest conservatively. One of the secrets to wealthier people, and people don't understand this, is wealthier people love to talk about some speculative investment or some speculative tech stock or some hot real estate deal or whatever they're involved in. It's oftentimes you get a false impression of what really wealthy people are investing in, because it's a lot more fun talking about that than it is talking about their money market funds, talking about their blue chip stocks, talking about their bonds or treasury bonds. That's not much fun. It's not exciting. But, if it's some tech stock that, is going to revolutionize the world and they, put $25,000 in it and, and they're worth, $25 million, they love talking about that. And so people get this false impression of where people, but the wealthier people sit there, they're much, much more conservative. Warren Buffett, I think, was the largest private holder of treasury bills. I noticed the other day. It's just something to think about. It's that municipal bonds, treasury bonds, those type of things. That's what you told. When you talk to wealthy people, real estate holdings, conservative real estate holdings, that's where they buy stuff and leave it alone and let it sit there for 5 or 10 years, and things just grow their way. And so understand, you want to save aggressively, then conservatively manage the money. And so I bring that up just because, again, I really think I talk to so many people, and the impression I really get is a lot of people just really don't understand investing because they just get a false impression. If they buy $10,000 worth of crypto, the millionaire loves to talk about it if it goes up, if it goes up 100%. But in the scheme of things, that's not where the big money is. So understand that. And pattern your investments like that too. That's what we do. We manage conservative money at Max Out Savings Advisors, retirement money. We do a lot of risk analysis, but we're going to talk. We got a lot to talk about. About today. The world, I say, it's just incredible. When we started this show back, golly, it's well over 15 years ago. It's one of Houston's most popular financial radio shows now. Things kind of moved sort of slowly, and we talk about savings rate. We talk about the 401ks or changes in an IRA, and now it's like every week it's like another war. It's something's happening in the Middle East, something's happening in Russia. It just never ends. It's a much more volatile world that we live in. And so I think, here we are today. The war in the Middle East really appears to be ramping up. If you look at Israel's strategy, it's pretty shrewd. Take out Gaza, take out Hezbollah, and then ultimately go after Iran. And, which has always been the problem. If it was me, honestly, I wouldn't have done anything to Gaza or Hezbollah. I would have just flat out attacked Iran because they're the problem of everything in the Middle East. But, when I would have blamed the people, and the Gaza, Hamas, I would have gone after the leadership there, but I left the populace alone. Yeah, and I think they probably would have held the moral high ground a little bit better than they have. But the problem has always been Iran. The problem has been Iran since they took our hostages, and every single time you try to work with Iran at all, it's a complete mistake, and so here we are. But that's a very unstable world, that we live in. We're dealing with the Ukraine in Russia, and we had some good news this week that Zelensky met with Trump, and it was pretty clear that it was a pretty tough conversation. And look, I mean, I think the comments were made. Look, both sides are going to have to compromise. We want peace in the world. There's been probably 1 million people die over there, and for what? So a few people in the State Department, a bunch of neocons could sit there and try to take out Vladimir Putin, which was their dream, and it was an obvious failure from the absolute get-go. It wasn't like this was. It has done huge damage to the United States. To our the United States is the reserve currency. The United States dollar. People trust the United States as a safe place to be. The idiots in the State Department immediately went to confiscate or freeze Russia's holdings at the Federal Reserve at the central bank, almost as soon as that happened, countries around the world started dumping treasuries because they're like, hey, this could happen to us. Basically, it triggered the gold bull market. Well, gold's going up 1,600%. Now, gold used to be the number 2 asset after the U.S. dollar held by central banks was the euro. Now it's gold. And so you have these policies. And now you've got, they're getting desperate in the Ukraine. They want to shoot missiles. They want cruise missiles and things so they can start taking out nuclear facilities in Russia. And Russia's like, if you use long-range missiles, if you use cruise missiles, we will open up our nuclear arsenal. And it's like, well, we don't. And you got people up in Washington like, hey, we don't care. If we can take out Putin, if they hit a few cities in the United States with nuclear weapons, it's okay if we take out Putin. But these people are lunatics in that White House. We don't even really know who's really running the White House. Anybody that talks to Joe Biden for 5 minutes understands that if the call comes at 3 a.m., the Russians have launched. His likely answer is not, well, it was one missile aimed at the Ukraine. It's likely nuke them and start obliterate the world. I mean, the guy is clearly mentally unstable. He's clearly suffering from dementia. And yet we're all supposed to sit there and nod our heads and say, yeah, this is perfectly normal that we're engaging in this type of action with Russia with no effective head of state. I mean, Kennedy, with Kennedy, the last nuclear conflict we had was with Cuba, was with Khrushchev and Kennedy, and both of them had their CIA and KGB analyzing the other one, trying to figure out what moves to make, and then Kennedy had to make a decision, and Khrushchev had to make a decision. I don't know how the Chinese, the Russians, or anyone else can analyze the United States because they're trying to figure, hey, is George Soros in charge? Is Barack Obama in charge? How nutty are some of those staffers that are surrounding the president? That's almost an unknowable. And that leads to a much more unstable and dangerous world. So the question is, in that world, where we have war in the Middle East, war in the Ukraine, do you want to be all in the stock markets, with your IRA and your 401k in betting, what you're affecting is you're effectively betting your retirement lifestyle, and that's a pretty tough bet, and this is why you've got to diversify into other asset classes such as bonds, as treasuries, as precious metals, commodities, real estate, to broaden out your assets for multiple possible outcomes. You talk to the smartest people in the world, and we either talked to them or read a lot of what they've said, they will say the guy probably has the best track record out there is Druckenmiller. He's semi-retired now, but he's like, he just manages his own money. He's like, look, this is there's multiple outcomes out there. We're going to have inflation, deflation, or we're going to have war with China. In that world, you spread your assets out into different areas. So if something doesn't work, something else does. And we see too much in the United States. But for particularly retirement plans, it's basically 60-40, 60%. The lion's share is in the S&P 500, of which basically, probably 30% of your portfolio is in 10 different stocks. The reason why so many people have trouble beating the S&P 500 is you can't put, if it's like 5%, it's about 26, 27, 28, 26, 27%. You can't put 27% of your assets in one industry, in tech or anything else, as any type of fiduciary and justify it. But there's enormous risk with some of these tech stocks. As we've talked about on the show, we think things are shifting very quickly in tech land, and privacy is going to become a major issue. In the majority of these big tech companies are basically making a fortune off of stealing your private data, and that's going to change. But that's another story. So what we're really looking at, though, is a very expensive market, a very unstable world. And at the same time, our deficits are spiraling out of control. We're borrowing $1 trillion every 100 days. And so what assets are working in this thing, and where should you go from here? We're going to discuss that after this quick break right here on the Max Out Savings Show.
The Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka is taking your calls now at 713-339-1070. Ted Gioka will return after these messages.
This is Ted Gioka, host of the Max Out Savings Show, one of Houston's most popular financial radio shows, celebrating over a decade on the air in Houston, Texas. With stocks at record high valuations and interest rates near record lows, you need to have your guard up. You need to have a plan to manage risk to your retirement. Do you? At Max Out Savings Advisors, we have a risk-based value investing approach to your retirement. If you would like some help managing your retirement, go to maxoutsavings.com to set up an appointment. That's maxoutsavings.com.
Hi, I'm Sam Malone, the owner of Houston's cutting-edge media company called 512 New Media. At 512 New Media, we create amazing videos that companies use on their websites, telling their story in bold colors with exciting animation and graphics. At 512 New Media, we also shoot television commercials and instructional videos. And if you want to show off your business from the air, we're ready to go with our drone video aircraft. Let us help you create your media message. We're online at 512newmedia.com or call 281-822-8803. 512 New Media is Houston's only media creation and distribution company that's actually owned by someone who's currently on the air. And that gives us an incredible edge when creating content for consumers to use on their laptops, tablets, and smartphones. Standing by to create your message, we're 512 New Media, 512newmedia.com.
In the 1970s, the big song was the Bee Gees' Staying Alive. Well, it was difficult back then to stay alive if you were a retiree. Inflation was running rampant, and since then, over the last 25 years, it's gone away. Well, inflation's coming back, and it's going to endanger your retirement. If you're a retiree, inflation is your biggest enemy. Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. If you need help with your retirement, I'd like to help you out. Go to maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com, and we'll show you how you manage through inflation. Don't let inflation destroy your retirement.
Once again, here's your host for the Max Out Savings Show, Ted Gioka.
Welcome back to the Max Out Savings Show. We're talking savings investments in your retirement here on the show. By the way, we sent out a free newsletter, the Max Out Savings Report. We just sent it out Friday, got that out later Friday evening. We got it out, and it's a completely free newsletter. We don't call you up, we don't bother you or we just send out the report once a month talking about retirement planning, savings, investments. There's a lot more, macro type of stuff in it lately because things are just moving in that direction. We're trying to bring stuff to you in the report that you're not hearing elsewhere. And so, but if you want a free copy, just go to our website, maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com, and you can request to be put on the list, and we'll get you on the list and get you set up for the report. And one of the things we sat and talked about in the report is that one of the things we talked about in the report was we titled the report 40 days. It's about 40 days to the election coming up, and this is driving a lot of this stuff out. This also makes the investing situation very, very unstable. The market's hitting all-time highs, But we're going into it, and it was helped about by the Chinese have come up with a stimulus program this week, which we'll discuss here in a minute. But what you're looking at is the market's hitting all-time high. It's near all-time highs. It's very expensive any way you look at it, but the Fed cut rates 50 basis points, and everybody knows the minute the Fed starts cutting, the market goes up. The problem is the market's been going up for almost a year. And typically, when the Fed cuts rates, the markets are like, oh, my gosh, we're going into a recession. This is a disaster. What's going to happen? They're cutting earnings all over the place. It's down. It's not up like this. But there's just a lot of bullishness out there. But now you put a very expensive market, a very concentrated market in a bunch of very expensive tech stocks. You got a binary outcome in 40 days. It's black or white. I mean, it's simple as that. Is Kamala going to get in there? And as she said, she made it real clear this week. Corporate taxes are going up. Taxes are going up for the wealthy, for corporations. We're going to move forward with the new Green New Deal agenda. We're going to get rid of CO2. We're going to stop eating meat. You'll own nothing. You'll love it. The globalist agenda. Or you've got Donald Trump saying, hey, we think the United States you should work for the people of the United States of America. We're going to deregulate the country. We're going to try to lower your taxes. But more importantly, we're going to make the government more efficient, and we're going to make it work for you. And yes, you can eat meat. We'd like people to own things in the United States. So it is a black and white situation. And so one side, if Kamala wins, the oil and gas industry is going to be in her gun sights. I mean, it's literally gun sights. They want to take out everybody in the business. If you look at, the corporate taxes are going up. It's just going to be it's going to be huge amounts of government spending. Taxes are going up likely. Interest rates are going up. And she's going to make it more of a European globalist Klaus Schwab model, which is there's a lot of industries that aren't going to do. On the other side, Donald Trump, oil and gas will do well, industry will do well. The drug companies probably aren't going to do well. There's other sectors that aren't going to. So this is it's a black and white issue. And to make matters worse, we're dealing with some people that are really pretty desperate. I mean, if anybody criticizes them or tries to go after them, how many Trump people have they tried to indict? How many Trump, key people? Look what they did to Mayor Adams. Yeah, he says, hey, these immigrants are costing the city $12 billion. We're spending more on illegal immigration than we are in our police or fire departments. We don't have the money. And they indicted him. I looked at those indictments. There's some, obviously there's some issues there, but when's the last time you've seen them indict any Democrat for anything? I mean, and they got him for being upgraded to first class on different airlines seats. I mean, they're going to take down half of the government officials in the United States of America for that, elected officials. But Mayor Adams made the mistake of criticizing that. They have been ruthless in everything that they've done to try to, they've weaponized the Justice Department so they specifically go after Trump supporters. I mean, that's really clear. So So they're very desperate. So they're likely to do some type of October surprise. Is it, hey, if we can get Putin to launch a tactical nuke in the Ukraine, maybe we can declare martial law and put off the election? Or if war breaks out with Iran, we'll get Kamala back to the White House because she needs to take care of this urgent situation and she can look presidential. Or maybe Biden, sometime in October decides, look, I just can't do it anymore. They make Kamala president, 2 or 3 weeks before the election. She doesn't have to campaign anymore because the situation is so dire and the wars of what typically would be, oh my God, we never want that to happen, to, whoa, this could be an opportunity. And that's a very dangerous world. And so I think it's going to be difficult. And the other thing we're seeing, our research is saying Trump is pulling ahead. Trump is if you look at, give an example, Hispanic voters, Kamala is ahead by 17 points, which, hey, that's good, But Biden was ahead by 32 points with Hispanics, and Hillary's ahead by 40 points with Hispanics. If you look at African American males, Trump's starting to build up a good level of support there. So, and if you look at the different cities, it's the same type of thing. Not the cities, the states, some of the battleground states. Trump really appears to be pulling ahead. Trump has put together a very good coalition. The Democrats used to talk about they were the Big Tent that everybody could come under. Well, the Big Tent is now the Republican Party. Look at the people he's got. He's got Vivek in there. He's got Tulsi Gabbard. She's a Democrat, and she's come over. He has RFK Jr. Lots of people are fed up with the pollutants in our food and drugs. What they've been doing to drugs and stuff, and just letting the drug companies run rampant. They're fed up with that. RFK is huge with young people, and that if you look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk is another person. He wants to put a government efficiency committee together. That's exciting. And by the way, why the government efficiency committee is so important is, look, this is what we're going to be coming up with. And this is something we've talked about on the show is, whoever gets in there after the election, the cupboard is going to be bare. They're going to be spending money. Our deficit right now is about 8% of GDP if you include state and local government deficits. We've been borrowing money like crazy. We got $35 trillion worth of debt. In addition, we're borrowing $1 trillion every 100 days. Through the actions with the Ukraine-Russia war, lots of countries around the world have been liquidating all their treasuries, so there's less buyers of our treasuries. So rates, it's going to be hard for them to get longer-term rates down. Yeah, so they're dealing with big debt. So the minute they come up with a big budget, hey, we got all these grand plans, the dollar's going to start falling and interest rates are going to go up. And they'll go, oh, whoa, no, what's going on? And it's going to fall. It's like, oh, no, the U.S. is spending is out of control. Remember, we're in a presidential election now. Nobody is paying any attention to the deficit or out of control government spending. We had a debate. There was no questions asked for all practical purposes about $1 trillion worth of borrowing every 100 days. I mean, think about that. Our spending is out of control. We can't fund our entitlements, and everybody knows it. Yet that was something that couldn't be mentioned in the debate. And so that will come up. So whoever gets in there, the cupboard's going to be bare. At that point in time, there's going to be a crisis. And so in that crisis, if you can sit there and go, the answer is going to be, you guys are going to have to raise taxes to pay for all this stuff big time, and we're going to have to cut all these benefits all over for everybody. But listen to this, what if someone goes, well, here, we're going to launch an emergency committee, and we're going to review, and we're going to cut waste in government. Every dollar of waste they cut in government spending is a dollar of someone's benefits they don't have to take away. Think about that. Your Social Security, your Medicare, all of those things are safer by coming up with this government efficiency committee. If you look at corporate America, one thing they have probably overdone is they've way overdone the efficiency routine in corporate America. I mean, to the point now, the impression I get is most companies, their strategy is to try to unload as much work upon you if you want to buy something as possible, be it Home Depot or whoever. We don't want to, we've got like 3 people in the place now to answer questions. You can't find anybody. We want to check out, sir, here's your self-checkout thing. You can check yourself out. I mean, everything they do, they spend trillions of dollars on all this technology. And by the way, it's not to sit there and improve production. It's not improved to build new products. It's all there to try to make the company more efficient, increase margins across the. That's all they pay attention to. All the CFOs are running all these companies now. They're just looking at cost. Most companies are miserable places to deal with because you can't talk to anybody. Things are, they put all the work on you. Sign up for this app, do this, do that. It's like, wait, look, I just want to buy the damn product. I'm not interested in giving you my life story and all my pertinent information and checking out and doing all the work for you. I'm the customer. But okay, after said that, they've way overdone it. Where that is, and by the way, they've been laying off workers. The minute you get any type of economy slow down, even like, oh, what, could that be a recession on the horizon, that little cloud? They start laying off workers all over the place because the one thing they can't withstand is any type of slowdown in earnings growth because they won't get their bonuses. So they fire workers at the drop of a hat. But government, it has been since the 1990s that we've seen any type of clean out of government, any type of efficiency programs in government, any type of anything. Now, have they tried to sit there and make it easier for people? Yeah, they have tried to, but it's remarkably inefficient. Our buying practices in government are inefficient. Our ordering systems are inefficient. The level of corruption across the government is inefficient. Everything about it is inefficiency. And so corporate America's had 25 years of ruthless cost cutting and efficiency to the point of to their detriment now, whereas as the United States government has basically has been on a gravy train that never stops, and the safest place in the world for a job anywhere on planet Earth is the United States government, and so. But if you can cut those benefits, I mean, if you can make it more efficient, you don't have to raise taxes, and more importantly, you don't have to cut people's benefits. And so what Elon Musk is doing is he's helping everybody out by doing this and forcing the hand. I mean, this guy, if you look at it, Elon Musk is obviously the genius of our times, of this generation. I mean, you really have to probably go back, probably to someone like Edison or Henry Ford, 50, 100 years back almost now to find people of his caliber. And so this brilliant genius that wants to put people on Mars, that basically popularized the electric car, made it the Henry Ford of electric car, of all these things, one thing after another, he came up with this brilliant idea, a government efficiency committee. Honestly, think about that for a second. A government efficiency committee. I mean, I could have gone to a group of junior high kids and done that, but it took somebody of his stature to try to push it through, because the minute you say government efficiency committee, you have a massive lobbying organization in Washington, D.C. that swings into action and tries to stop it all. And this is why, my friends, this is why we're going to have, this is why I think we're going to have some type of crisis. The government efficiency comes in a crisis because they can push back on this massive lobbying program, which is basically gaming the system for the last 2 or 3 decades, basically taking money out of Americans' pockets and shifting it over to whoever's pocket, the drug industry or who. I mean, the list just goes on and on of people. So expect that's likely to happen. And in that world, it becomes more unstable, and you want to be a little more defensive until you see what happens, which companies are getting hurt, which are going to get help. So all of these things, who's going to get elected? Are we going to have a budget crisis? Are we going to have a war? What's going to happen in the Middle East? All of these things are coming out there. But a couple things is expect some type of big October surprise. But understand Trump is winning. Look, they rolled out, the big gun, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift came out and she gave an endorsement. I felt it was a little tepid, just like do your homework, but she obviously was pressured to do it, and it really didn't. She didn't really get any bump out of it. Now they got Mark Cuban out there trashing Donald Trump and, claiming that Kamala Harris is the new Henry Ford of our generation. And you're like, what the hell? I don't know. Obviously, he's been either A, they have pictures of him, or B, they promised him something, a Secretary of State or something, for the way he's carrying on. But you listen to the way he's suggesting that mainstream media is really the right wing and Fox. He's just because so many people listen to him. That's because nobody listens to mainstream media, because it's like listening to Pravda in the 1990s, propaganda. But it's Mark Cuban is just he's completely lost it. But they're trying desperately. But if you look what Trump did, what Trump is doing is he's winning. Look what he did. He got RFK Jr. That was a complete game changer. You don't realize how many people. A lot of independents, a lot of young people love RFK, and here he is. He's over on the Republican side now. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening. You look at RFK. You look at Elon Musk. You look at Vivek Ramaswamy. You look at Donald Trump Jr. Look at Tulsi Gabbard. These people, they're game changers. They will change. They're not going in there to sit there and cut everybody's taxes in corporate America. They're going in there to Elon Musk. They're all going in there to fundamentally change the United States of America, much like we saw under Ronald Reagan. That's really exciting and not well understood at all. This is a big tent coalition that wants to change the world for the better. They want to sweep out the globalists, the Klaus Schwab acolytes like Lena Hidalgo, which that's not going to affect the election, but these people that have basically flooded the country with illegal aliens, trashed our legal system, done everything they can to destroy the United States. They're now up against their equals. On the other side, they had George Soros, Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, all these clowns, Mark Zuckerberg tossing $400 million in. Mark Zuckerberg's like, hey, I'm a libertarian. I'm out of politics. We finally have a... Okay, tell them the whole the break. We finally have a group of people in this country that are equals to what the other side has had on the Democratic Party and the globalists, and that's exciting. And this is going to be a change, but it's going to be kind of this rough transition period. Tell you what, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to discuss some more of this right after this quick break right here on the Max Out Savings Show.
If you've got savings and investment questions, Ted Gioka has answers. Call the Max Out Savings Show now at 713-339-1070. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. Our motto and philosophy is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. The world is changing at a faster rate than any time in the last 50 years. The investment world has changed. Have you changed? Inflation will destroy your retirement. It is a different world that requires different strategies and ideas. The era of indexing and investing is over. If you need help, listen to the Max Out Savings Show. Our show airs every Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. We talk about investments, the world, and where the world is going today, and help you understand it and help you save money and build up wealth. It's the Max Out Savings Show. And if you need some help, go to our website, maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com. On the website, you can sign up for the free Max Out Savings Report. Our report covers all types of these big issues, the changes in the world, and helps you understand and protect your retirement. So go to the website, maxoutsavings.com.
Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here. Ted Gioka, the founder of Max Out Savings Advisors, always says, save aggressively and invest conservatively. He specializes in helping people grow their retirement account with as little risks as possible. Ted combines working knowledge with the intuition gained from over 25 years of experience of value investing in the stock and bond markets for retirement accounts. Like you, Ted is deeply conservative in life and in his investment approach. His risk strategy allows him to anticipate market downswings to protect your money. Ted is also the conservative host of the Max Out Savings Show. You can listen to him every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. right here on The Answer. If the idea of saving aggressively and investing conservatively appeals to you, the best way to get to know Ted is to call him. The number is 713-627-0400 or visit maxoutsavings.com. That is maxoutsavings.com. Call Ted right now, 713-627-0400 or visit maxoutsavings.com.
And now, more of the Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka.
Welcome back to the Max Out Savings Show. And by the way, when I gave you that list of all these exciting people, I left out Charlie Kirk, I left out Tucker Carlson. I mean, there is just, our bench is so deep and broad. We finally have a team that can sit there, that we're putting on the field that is going to make a difference. And that's really exciting. As I said, it's a big tent, it's a coalition of people that get things done and do the job and have a vision of the future that's exciting in rebuilding the United States of America. Now, I'll tell you what, let's take a call from Charles. Charles called us at 713-339-1070 here at the Max Out Savings Show. Hey, Charles.
Good morning, Ted. In the past, it's been no secret. I mean, I guess since President Biden took office, the supply chains have been drastically modified. Things that, you used to be able to get rather easily are now being diverted to other countries. And, I mean, you could see it in just Texas oranges. It seems like you can't find the Texas oranges anymore. Prime cuts of meat, a lot of that stuff is gone. It just, a lot of the crab, all that stuff is just going to other countries. But one thing that I've noticed that people are not talking about here is the potential longshoreman strike. And I'd like your opinion on that because, with the supply chains already kind of in life support, so to speak, if this strike happens and we're coming right into the holiday season where people are going to start wanting to do Christmas shopping, et cetera, what impact do you see on this and in terms of the markets?
That's a good question, Charles. Yeah, look, I think that's coming. Clearly, the strike is going to happen. It's right before the election, so there's going to be enormous pressure to settle it. I mean, just enormous pressure because they just can't afford it right now. Look, I think this is going to slow down things. It's going to gum up the supply chains, even if nothing happens, because it's causing people to change where they're routing their shipments because they're not sure. So it's going to slow things down no matter what. That's going to raise prices. This is another indication. Keep in mind, we also got the potential Boeing strike coming up as well. This is higher wages, more inflation, and so that's my answer. I think it's going to be higher wages, more inflation, and gum up the supply chains. But now here's the interesting thing as well is China just came up with their big kind of a stimulus program. They're going to try to recapitalize the banks. That's going to put more inflationary pressure in the world. So I think we could be starting up another leg of some type of inflationary issue out there. But yeah, that's a good question. Thanks for the call, Charles.
Okay, do you think the money going into the markets are going to be diverted now towards, say China and the likes, or do you see that happening?
Wow. This is the thing, okay, is I like China. If you look at China, the total market cap of China versus the United States, it's way, it's probably a third the cost, and it's a massive market. I think there's real opportunities there to invest. I think it pulls back. I think we had a short squeeze. I think it pulls back some. I like China. The problem you run into is you don't know when the administration is going to come in and say sell all your China stocks, and you just get blasted. And so it makes it tough. We've looked at it, a couple of times, because we got caught up in the China Mobile thing a couple of years back, which I just love China Mobile, but you just get blown out of the water by the government. So we'll probably go back in there, but you have to understand there's some risk involved, and so you better be pretty diversified.
Right. Okay, Ted, I appreciate your insight.
Thank you. That's it. So China's come up with this big stimulus program. So, the market I think was up 13% over the week. A lot of excitement there. Look, China's where the United States was. I say they're in trouble. They're They're where the United States were in the 1970s. They overbuilt. The Chinese, they invest in real estate. They love real estate like we like the stock market. And the largest asset class in the world is residential real estate in China. And people they'll buy a brand new Chinese apartment. They'll just leave it vacant. They don't even put anybody in it because they're worth more for a new apartment. And so they've massively overbuilt. Their banks are in trouble. They have to recapitalize. They're going to have to do a stimulus program because they really can't. The debt, there's just so much debt in the country. They have to restructure it, and it's not going to do a lot of good putting, more debt after bad debt. Type of thing. So they're starting with the very poor people, giving them a stimulus to help them out. They really don't. The Chinese are they're frugal people. They have big savings rates, and so they don't want. They're worried. They give everybody $1,000 check, and a lot of Chinese, rather than rushing down to the Louis Vuitton store, they're going to go put it in the bank or invest it in real estate or gold or silver. So I think this puts a floor on commodity prices, which is very bullish. I think it's possibly could be triggering the next wave up of inflation. This is something we want to watch and see how this all plays out. In the Max Out Savings Report, which we just released, if you didn't get a copy, check your spam folder. It might be in there. We talk about about China. We talk about the U.S. really. People, 87% of the people. I think it's 87% of the people will really think housing is too expensive right now, and that's a higher number than almost anybody in history at any time in history. In the 1980s, it's higher than the 1980s when mortgage rates were at 15%. And this kind of tells me that this housing is not going to keep. When rates come down, this is not igniting another housing boom. I think it maybe stabilizes prices. But we believe that the economy is slowing down. If you look at it, the consumer expectations came in at 98.7%. They were expecting 104. So and look, the stock market's at all-time highs. Those things kind of help out expectations. So clearly, the consumer's being pressured. Working people are being pressured by inflation. By the way, all the scared talk, from the Democrats, how Donald Trump is going to destroy the Constitution, turn into a dictator. The scary stuff about all that is if you really want to know what the Democrats are going to do, just listen to what they say Trump's going to do, and that's what they're going to do. But that's an aside. But this economy appears to be slowing down. Unemployment's up over 0.5%. Typically that triggers some type of recession eventually. If you look at the Somme rule, there's a lot of people that think we could be in a recession right now. It's hard to get the numbers, but I end the Max Out Savings Report this week. One of the things I mentioned actually at the end of it is that come November 5th, there's no longer any incentive to make the economic numbers look good. There's no incentive to hold up stock prices, and there's no incentive to hold down oil and gasoline prices. And I think that's very profound in a way because, look, as we've been saying on this show, this election is everything. I mean, the Democrats are this close to this new global world order, the globalists. Donald Trump really threatens their dream, and they're not willing to. You can see, I mean, they're pulling out all this, whatever it takes to get the job done. And so they're making the economy look good. And quite frankly, if the Republicans they try to make the economy look good, but the Democrats seem to really be going the extra mile there. Clearly, it's kind of suspicious that gasoline prices are down this much. I really think the oil companies are kind of cooperating, as I've said on this. The stock market, you want the market up ahead of the election. And we're entering that danger zone now. Because, look, understand, right now, most people have made up their minds for who's going to vote for president. They're going to vote for the president of the United States. September is really the key time. If you look at all the spending, it's really designed to go through September, October, everything. By the couple weeks before the election, the election's already been decided. It's kind of somewhat to get out the vote, but it's already decided. So they have to keep it up right here. So now it's kind of the danger zone where you have this market way up. You got great economic numbers. You got oil prices at record lows. Everything is great. But what after the election, nobody cares. I mean, they don't care if the economy goes off a cliff or we have the best economy ever after the election. They don't care. They're going to be working on the new administration, and they'll be elected, and that's it, or they won't be. They don't care if oil prices shoot up. So what? Too bad, so sad. I'm sorry to hear about your issue, Mr. Working Person, but I've now been elected, or I have been. And it's the same thing with all this stuff: market, oil prices, economic numbers. And so you really have to ask yourself after that, once that election's over, you can bet people are going to start talking about that deficit. They're going to start talking about runaway government spending. What are we going to do about it? It's not come up in a presidential election, the most outrageous levels of government spending since World War II. We had a pandemic with the economy shut down. They had to do record government spending on World War II levels. Then we got it back. Things recovered, and the Democrats said, "Hey, we can just keep spending this money at this level." We've been running, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% deficits in 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. That's going to come to an end. Chinese don't want to lend to us. These Arabs don't want to lend to us. The Japanese are like, what's going on with America? They're just a bunch of spendthrifts over there. Same thing, Chinese, like, we're savers over here. You guys are spenders. And they're like, wait, look what you did to the Russians' treasuries. Do we want to be caught in that? So who's going to lend them the money for all this stuff? So eventually you're going to see some type of yield curve control. But that's for another day. So for right now, what you want to look at is what's happening. You look at gold. Gold has outperformed the tech sector year to date. It's outperformed the S&P 500 year to date. It's outperformed the S&P 500 for the last 3 years, and yet you don't hear anything about it except on this show. We've been telling you, look at gold, look at silver, look at the stocks. But those stocks, by the way, the precious metal stocks are still cheap if you look at the earnings. If gold falls $200 an ounce and silver goes down $3 or $4 an ounce, they're still cheap because these earnings numbers are coming in. I think we're near a kind of a near-term top, and particularly gold. I think we're going to see some type of correction in here, but it's been a big move in that sector. Gold is telegraphing something's wrong. They're telegraphing this spending is a big concern. They're telegraphing these wars could get out of control. Look at gold. Gold is the only thing that's left. Back in the 1980s, anytime government spending got out of control, the bond vigilantes would come in and start selling down the 30-year treasury, and people would go, oh, my God, we need to do something. And they'd announce a committee and meet and cut spending, or the dollar would fall. But nowadays, the Treasury and the Fed controls the bond markets, and so they can just borrow as much money as they want, and the Fed will buy the bonds, and there's no warning signal. Gold is that warning signal now. Gold is telling you there's a problem. Look at our debt levels. Look at the price of gold. $1 trillion every 100 days. Costco had double-digit earnings growth from, I think, toys, a couple other things in gold for their thing. Well, they didn't say how much it was for gold. And keep in mind, their toys and other stuff you can buy as much as you want at Costco. At Costco, the gold runs out 2 or 3 times a week. They cannot even keep it in stock. And over the last 2 or 3 years, last 2 years, as gold began to move up from 1,600 to 2,600 right now, there have been sellers of the gold ETF. This has been foreigners buying it, Chinese and Indian investors, central banks around the world buying gold. The Americans aren't even in this thing yet. So this thing, and as I said, Costco cannot even keep this stuff in stock. I mean, this is going to be a big move, and I think we're going to see higher price. Anyway, so if you need some help, a couple things. Go to our website, Max Out Savings. Go maxoutsavings.com. Register for the free newsletter. Completely free. We don't bother. We don't care what you do with it. Well, but also, if you need some help with your retirement savings, your management, we're here in Houston, Texas. We manage money using our value investing approach to the stock and bond markets. Our assets are custodial at Charles Schwab. We open an account there. We manage it for you using our value investing approach. You can request an appointment by going to the website, maxoutsavings.com. I'd like to help you out if you need some help, and I'll show you how we manage money. Until then, remember our motto and philosophy, which is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. That, my friends, is the key to building up wealth over the long term. Save aggressively, invest conservatively. We'll see you next week right here on the Max Out Savings Show.
This has been the Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka, a presentation of Max Out Savings Advisors. Join us next Saturday at 10 a.m. for the Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka on AM 1070. The Answer.
Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here. Ted Gioka, the founder of Max Out Savings Advisors, always says, save aggressively and invest conservatively. He specializes in helping people grow their retirement account with as little risks as possible. Ted combines working knowledge with the intuition gained from over 25 years of experience of value investing in the stock and bond markets for retirement accounts. Like you, Ted is deeply conservative in life and in his investment approach. His risk strategy allows him to anticipate market downswings to protect your money. Ted is also the conservative host of the Max Out Savings Show. You can listen to him every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. right here on The Answer. If the idea of saving aggressively and investing conservatively appeals to you, the best way to get to know Ted is to call him. The number is 713-627-0400 or visit maxoutsavings.com. That is maxoutsavings.com. Call Ted right now, 713-627-0400 or visit maxoutsavings.com.
Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. Our motto and philosophy is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. The world is changing at a faster rate than any time in the last 50 years. The investment world has changed. Have you changed? Inflation will destroy your retirement. It is a different world that requires different strategies and ideas. The era of indexing and investing is over. If you need help, listen to the Max Out Savings Show. Our show airs every Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. We talk about investments, the world, and where the world is going today, and help you understand it and help you save money and build up wealth. It's the Max Out Savings Show. And if you need some help, go to our website, maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com. On the website, you can sign up for the free Max Out Savings Report. Our report covers all types of these big issues, the changes in the world, and helps you understand and protect your retirement. So go to the website, maxoutsavings.com.
Hi, I'm Sam Malone, the owner of Houston's cutting-edge media company called 512 New Media. At 512 New Media, we create amazing videos that companies use on their websites, telling their story in bold colors with exciting animation and graphics. At 512 New Media, we also shoot television commercials and instructional videos. And if you want to show off your business from the air, we're ready to go with our drone video aircraft. Let us help you create your media message. We're online at 512newmedia.com or call 281-822-8803. 512 New Media is Houston's only media creation and distribution company that's actually owned by someone who's currently on the air. Standing by to create your message, we're 512 New Media, 512newmedia.com.
AM 1070, The Answer.